Thank you, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today here on KELK. Another very important topic before us today with our representative from Rural Foster Care. Shelby Riley is a licensed social worker, and she's a recruiter for this very important process in our community. And Shelby is joining us from her office, and I'm going to have her patched in right now, I think, Shelby. Hi, good afternoon, Shelby. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can, Lori. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, awesome. We hear you loud and clear. We're just connecting through our studio, and it's just great to have you back. You really are an important person in the community. You and everybody else on the team who's been making the rounds the last several months, I think, appearing before city and city council members and county commissioners and various civic organizations, Shelby, because you have a very important message from Division of Child and Family Services. Isn't that right?
Yes, Lori, that's true. My job and something that I enjoy and love doing is spreading the message in Nevada on our need for foster homes.
So let's talk a little bit about what you do, Shelby, your background and your role with Nevada DCFS, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I started as a social worker, to be completely vulnerable. Myself and my little brother were placed in the foster care system. Just 3 weeks before I turned 18, and that experience stuck with me so strongly that I made it my mission and my career goal that I wanted to get back into the child welfare system to truly understand what's the best ways that we can help the families that we serve that run into this system. So that's what I did. I graduated with my bachelor's in social work from the University of Nevada, Reno in 2018. And shortly after there, I got a position as an ongoing case manager with Division of Child and Family Services. So my role at that time was to help reunify and bring children and families back together. Once those children have been removed from the home and placed in state protective custody, I worked with parents and families to eliminate those barriers to safety and help children come back home. After 3 years of that experience, I moved on to the foster care recruiter position for our 15 rural counties. And now my job is to really carry out the experiences that I have and be the sounding board for our children and families that are affected by the child welfare system and spread the message, especially on our huge need for foster homes and quality foster homes across our 15 rural counties.
Oh, Shelby, what a passionate advocate you are, and what a huge heart. And I hope it's okay to ask. I'm sure there are plenty of our listeners thinking that you and your brother, things turned out okay, and your brother's doing okay too, just like you seem to be.
Yeah, and we're both doing great today. I think that we understand as much as any child going through the system that removal is trauma. Sometimes that's more traumatic than the abuse or neglect that got us into the system in the first place. So I feel very strongly and empathetically towards our children that are placed into this system, no matter what the reason was.
Absolutely. The children are often the victims. I mean, not necessarily victims of a family member or in that situation, whatever your situation was, Shelby, but they simply have no control over their situation, and they are in desperate need of good care. And that's why, again, you're appealing for more caregivers through Division of Child and Family Services to be licensed foster caregivers here on our radio show today. Boy, we're happy that that things turned out for you, Shelby. And so DCFS has an important role throughout the state, right? I mean, there are, at any time, there could be hundreds of children in peril or in need, for example.
Yeah, so the Nevada Division of Child and Family Services holds the mission to make sure that all children in Nevada are guaranteed safety and the ability to thrive in their environment. And we have many different services available in DCFS, but what we do over here is the child protection side. So when a child is experiencing abuse or neglect at home, a social worker will intervene and place that child into state protective custody, or what's commonly known as foster care. Now, kids can come into foster care for a variety of reasons. Abuse and neglect are both umbrella terms, which can either mean that there is some harm being directed towards the child, or that something's happening in the home that's preventing the child's needs to be met. What I really like to stress about this is that it's very seldom that we see children that are entering the system and that their parents are really purposely and vehemently trying to act out in harm against them. That's usually never the case. What the reality is that most of our parents are usually in what's probably the hardest time of their life and are going through some unfathomable crisis. And they don't have the resources or support systems that are able to help keep them intact. So that's really where we step in as an agency, and we're able to intervene with these families, really get to know them and see where we can help and make sure that children can be reunified home when that's safe to do so.
So, Shelby, another reality, and probably in your case too, with you and your brother, children love their parents and their caregivers, right? And so they want to be. It's important that they're part of this process in healing with a goal of reunification.
Yes, absolutely. We believe, and our research shows us, that children do best with their biological families in almost every situation, as long as that is safe. So that's absolutely what we're here to nurture. Like I mentioned before, being removed from your home is very traumatic as a child. Maybe the abuse or neglect going on in your home, you don't realize that there was something abusive or neglectful of that situation, and that's just your normal. So now when you are removed from your home, you're ripped from your normal place that you sleep. Maybe this new place has different foods or bedtimes or all of these things to adjust to, and then you don't know when life is going to go back to normal. That is so much for any child and so many big emotions to be able to process. And so, we really see even visitation with our birth families. It's not visitation. Those are opportunities for healing and rebuilding relationships. So through this process, we really help bring families back together and make sure that we can help heal those wounds, that whatever it is that brought them here in the first place.
Oh, Shelby, it's important to hear you describe the process this way. For whatever reason, sometimes it's generational or maybe because of, past history. But, people have an impression that, if you were to call DCFS to try to get help for a family or help for yourself, that you might be jeopardizing that family. But isn't it important? Isn't the ability to ask for help important too, Shelby, in this process?
Absolutely. And, the mission and the intended goal is that every family has the resources within their own community to be able to work on whatever it is that is making their home unsafe or a toxic environment. The reality is that not everyone is out there to be privileged with enough resources or support to do this. So once they come into our agency, we're really modeling that. We're really modeling healthy relationships between community partners that are going to help them, getting them in contact with people that can be utilized as babysitters or as parenting support, or even sober support, or whatever it is to take these families to be able to be whole again.
And there are stressors now, which we're all aware of with current inflation. Homelessness is a reality, food insecurity. We do rely on our organizations and partnerships. I know the Moses Project in Elko County is working very hard to meet the needs of foster parents and families, as well as communities in schools. Right, Shelby?
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, the Moses Project is an amazing resource for us and our families. They're really there to step up and fill the need of anything that families may have. I just saw a Facebook post, they're asking for meat today. So really, whatever that is, in or out of the foster care system, if you are a family that's in need, know that there are resources that you can reach out to. Additionally, we all are family-oriented people. We very strongly agree that keeping families together and the support that you receive through family is so important. And so that's something that we're always going to embrace in our system.
And I'm glad that you said that too, Shelby. It's not the agency's role to come in and take children from families. It's just the opposite, as you said. You've been describing reunification and just solidifying families and giving them the tools that they need. Communities and schools, as we mentioned, the Moses Project. Elko County School District has a family engagement center. So these are all places where people can get help at various times when there are critical needs. Again, it's just important to have the ability to ask for help so that you can help everybody in your family, whatever the situation might be. As you mentioned, the reasons the kids go into care are just as varied as the family, the situation they might find themselves in, correct?
Correct. And, reports and family issues all come from a variety and on a spectrum of severity. So not every report received is something that's going to be responded on, or it doesn't necessarily mean that your child is placed in state protective custody. It could be as simple as making a referral to that family engagement center or other community supports to make sure that your family is intact. They can mean making sure that that child has a temporary place to stay, like grandma's house, with someone that they know while the temporary things are being worked on. So there's a lot of different ways that the agency can respond, and you'll hear it all the time in our agency. It's a case-by-case situation. No situation is the same as the other, and it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
That's a really good segue, Shelby, into the next topic, which is the geographical areas of Nevada that Division of Child and Family Services serve, because we know that different parts of the state are very unique.
Yes, so we serve the 15 rural counties of Nevada, so that's everywhere besides Washoe County and Clark County. So when we're talking about Nevada, we're talking about a very geographically large area. We've got a lot of small towns scattered throughout these rural counties. And so when we don't have enough foster homes in one given community, that means that we have to start looking at other communities to place that child in. It also means that we might not have as many large facilities that urban areas may have, like large group homes or large residential facilities. And most of our children are placed in family foster homes here.
So let's talk about that. The need for foster caregivers in Elko County. I know the last time we checked in, it was pretty dire. We had children and sometimes they're social workers staying in hotel and motel rooms. And I think that just made people feel really bad, Shelby, to know that was happening. And I think that emphasized the need for foster parents.
Yes, absolutely. I currently have 6 foster homes in Elko County. Now, that's about 2 homes of an increase since last time I talked to you last year, but that's still not enough. Every single home in Elko is filled. So at this moment, children that are being placed in state protective custody are being displaced out of the area in Elko. It doesn't matter if you're 0 years old, if you're 18 years old, if you're a part of a sibling set. There are no available foster homes in Elko County. And so we absolutely need more. We need to make sure that children stay in their community because that softens the trauma inflicted on them. We already talked about how being removed from your home and having to go through all this unpredictable change is already harmful to you as a child. Now imagine if you are placed so far away that you no longer get to go to the same school that you went to and see the same friends and teachers, that you don't get to see the same neighbors or same community parks or community resources that you may have been connected with. And so this is something we want to avoid. When we see children displaced, we'll see higher rates of problems with school performance, with behavior concerns, with higher rates of anxiety and depression because these children just aren't in their community and around their village. So we strive to keep kids in their same school, with their same friends, with their same teacher and same coaches whenever possible. But that really takes the community to step up and ensure there's enough homes in Elko to make sure that happens.
Shelby Riley is our guest today. She's a licensed social worker and a rural foster care recruiter, in particular with Nevada Division of Child and Family Services. And we began the program by Shelby telling us of her own story and her situation where she and her brother were taken into protective care when she was a teenager. And this next topic is is about the importance of keeping sibling groups together. Shelby, were you fortunate to be housed with your brother?
So we were in Reno, which I said is a more urban area. So we were automatically placed in a group home when we first came in. That was kind of the process then. Is if you were like, I think, over age 13, you were going to the group home. And if there was a foster home available, then we'd see from there. So I was placed with my brother. We were on like separate sides of the facility because of the gender, but we both were there. And I think that also mentions, too, how important a family foster home is. You know, when we came to a facility, we came to staff, and we were disheveled. We had 10 minutes to pack up all our stuff. We didn't know when our mom was going to be back, and we didn't know when things were going back to normal. And then really placed with hourly staff that weren't able to answer those questions or provide something that was a little more empathetic and natural. I think that really stuck with us when we were first placed in foster care. So that's even why it's even more important to be able to have children with that one-on-one caregiver, to be able to confide in some of those worries that happen.
So we're at the point where we really do want to increase those 6 available foster homes in Elko County, which, as you described, they're already full. It's probably similar in surrounding rural communities, such as in Humboldt County and Winnemucca and Eureka County, for example, over in White Pine. So if someone's listening thinking, gosh, I feel like I could really make a difference and that I could do this, but, I don't have a model home. I'm not married. I don't have children of my own. Can you tell us more about what you do need to become a foster caregiver?
Yeah, so we really want to make it clear that there are so many different kinds of family makeups that can make an excellent foster home. You can either be married or single or in some other kind of marital arrangement. You can have adults in your home, whether that be from roommates or having a multi-generational home. You can either rent or own your own home. You only need to be at least 21 years of age or older to foster. And aside from that, if you've ever thought of fostering, I would consider asking yourself some of these questions. If your family has that time and patience to help another child and family, are you a person that likes to find creative solutions to challenges you face in life? Are you willing to learn new skills to help children to heal from their losses? Are you able to help birth families in their journey to rebuild their lives so that their children can return home when that's safe to do so? And can you love a child enough to say goodbye when that's what's best for them? I don't think that we're ever expecting anyone to be the perfect parent when foster parenting. But if you answered yes to these questions, and if it's something that you're willing to look into, I strongly encourage you to take that chance and to see how you can be a part of a better solution in building together not only children, but entire families in your community back together.
Oh, Shelby, thank you for the encouragement. We're really hoping that we can reach the people that have sort of been on the fence, maybe thinking about this. There was a great push for it, as you said. We've been doing this for months, trying to encourage families and just individuals to come forward to help create the environment needed for these families and these children. And you can get more information without committing entirely, correct? Within a pre-service training that's coming up, and it's free, right? It's an introduction?
Absolutely. We do have an online training coming up, and it's absolutely no commitment. It starts on October 3rd, and we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 9 for the entire month. So it's all online with a live teacher via Microsoft Teams. So if you're interested, we'll get you set up with that link for you to hop on training with us.
And some of the topics that are covered, for people who do have questions, Shelby, is it going to be a pretty typical session?
Yeah, so we cover really a lot of the things that you need to know to really envision what life is going to be like when you're foster parenting. Some of the topics we cover are the life of a foster care case. We'll talk about your roles and keys to successful fostering. We'll have deep speeches on helping children with special needs and trauma-informed care. We'll also go over the licensing process, and we'll hear from judges, social workers, birth parents, other foster parents and former foster children on their lived experience with the foster care system to gain wisdom from.
And those type of stories, just like the one that you shared throughout our program today, Shelby, I think those are really important because anyone listening or watching, participating in the pre-service foster care training for applicants will get a better idea of the reality of the situation. And just curious too, since we live in rural Nevada and we have diverse communities, are there needs for homes with cultural differences recognized, such as Native American or maybe Hispanic homes or families? Shelby, is that significant?
Yes, it's absolutely significant. That's also something that we really strive for our children, is to be able to place them in homes where their culture can be embraced. And who's better to do that than someone in a home that already shares their culture? We do have many tribes scattered across Nevada, and there is a need for tribal foster homes, as well as many other races, ethnicities, cultures, religions. And we definitely encourage you to come bring that forward so that you can help embrace and support a child's culture. I think that's so important that you bring that up, Lori, because it's so common time and time again that we hear from our former foster youth that they felt like they've really lost touch with their culture while in foster care. And so being able to invite them to those church ceremonies, to be able to take them to museums where they get to learn about their history and family culture, whatever it is that we can do to embrace that are all amazing things that we can do better by these children in this generation.
So I hope that by listening to this program, that listeners, that your family, or you might consider reaching out to family friends to talk to them about these issues and the importance, again, because we do have deep needs, not only with just 6 homes in Elko County, but I imagine in Humboldt and Lander counties there are needs too.
Absolutely. We don't have any foster homes in Lander County, so we're absolutely in need for more of those. And really every county, we're in a dire need of foster homes. And just like Elko County, there's no specific age or sex or any specific characteristics I could give you that we're more in need of. We just need all of it.
Well, and Shelby, and not to call anyone out, but I'm sure that since doing these presentations, what's sort of the common concern, or why is it that people maybe aren't stepping up as much as they used to? Is there any kind of a common theme that we can address as to why families aren't coming forward, or individuals?
Well, I will have to say that it's a huge mystery. I could give a lot of guesses, but what I will say is that this is a nationwide issue. This is not just specific to Nevada. We're seeing foster homes drop across the country. As far as common concerns I hear when speaking to applicants, I think the most common one I hear is families that feel that it's going to be really hard to say goodbye to that child in their home, or even how they're going to explain to their own children how to say goodbye to that foster child in their home. And for that, I would say that you know your family best, and you know what you can take the best. But what I would also think and consider is that children do best when they know what's coming. And children are so smart, and they're able to grasp more abstract concepts that I think we give them credit for. So when it comes to something like fostering and getting around the idea that this child may not be in my home forever, it's being able to reframe that for that child, letting them know that they get to be a part of helping a child who needs it for now, but to be able to go back home for what's better for them, to be able to place your child in a foster child's shoes and really help them start to gain a very mature sense of empathy at a young age. And again, just ultimately learn that the world is much bigger than the home that they're in. And there's also many books and resources that you can share with your children to kind of start preparing for that conversation. And, to just end on that, I would just strongly suggest to everyone to not be afraid to get too attached. If a child is in your home for months, for years, for weeks, whatever that is, forever or for a temporary time, that love that you gave that child was not wasted. they're going to carry that on with them in the future. And sometimes the best thing that happens is that our foster parents are able to continue relationships with their kiddos that were in their home, whether that be through babysitting or going to their birthdays or keeping up on how they're doing in school. So you have the potential to be an important person in this child's life, whether that's as a parent or as just another supporter in their village.
Oh, Shelby, thank you so much. These are, of course, really tough times for a lot of families, and I sure hope that we can reach at least a few more people because there is a great need for caring foster parents and individuals in rural Nevada, and as you mentioned, throughout the nation. You're really good at what you do, Shelby. We're so lucky in Nevada. We're so fortunate to have you in the position that you're in, and I just want to remind people that there is a class coming up. It's pre-service training. It's online. Maybe there are some deadlines that we should or remind people of how to register for these courses, Shelby.
So I would just suggest that you are registered by October 1st so that we can get you the information in time. If you'd like to get registered for our training, you can visit www.ruralnvfostercare.com and create your account now. Once you do, I'll get in contact with you and we'll make sure that you're set up for that training. And if you had any other questions before you're ready to take that commitment, you can absolutely give me a call toll free at 888-423-2659.
Shelby Riley, our guest today. She's a licensed social worker with Nevada Division of Child and Family Services. She's the rural foster care recruiter. Shelby, thank you so much for your time today and for your dedication. I know you've made a huge difference in the lives of children, and I know you're working so hard to do even more of that. And so hopefully we can get some local families to help out in the process. We sure appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Lori, and we're fighting the good fight over here.
Yes, you are. Thanks, Shelby. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. You can find us online, elkoradio.com. The Encore program is repeated from 5:30 to 6. And, of course, you'll find this in our archive, as we said. But tell your friends and tell your family to get in touch with Nevada Division of Child and Family Services. If you've ever even thought about becoming a foster parent, you are desperately needed in Nevada and throughout the country, it sounds like. So thanks again, Shelby. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today.